All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how we took the hi-hat and the overheads from this to this. I get it. From the onset, you're probably thinking, "Yuck, that doesn't sound good." But for me in this song, like I mentioned in the Tom's video, I'm using the hat and the overheads. The hat, the hat and the overheads for as just a hat mic and just cymbal mics. I'm not using the overheads to give me the tones from the kit themselves because I replaced the snare, because I replaced the kick. I wanted the best phase relationships possible, and I wanted to control that tight drum sound without any bleed. Personal preference, taste. You paid to follow me and how I mix this song, and I'm going to show you. So, by themselves, they may sound like absolute garbage and nothing's really usable. But when we get this in the context of the drums, let's hear what we've got before. And then now after. So very cool. You can play that back and listen to it for yourself. But the hi-hat, much more presence. We're getting that clear and up in the mix. The overheads, to taste. Maybe could have left a little bit of the room sound in. But I kind of like the vibe. I felt like whenever I was messing with the EQ that it kind of sounded pretty cool, and I went with it. Let's dive in and take a look at what we're doing here. Pretty straightforward from the get-go. Slate's VCC. I've got that in for its commute. Now I say Slate's VCC because it's on almost every single track as a first insert. And if you look up Slate, you know anything about the VCC, it's a cumulative effect across the mix when you have that on all your tracks or a lot of your tracks. The buildup from the tones that you get from emulating the SSL or the Neve or the Trident or whichever console you go with, could take you an extra 5-10%. Some may argue more or less. I don't know, but it's something that I bought, something that I use. I'm looking forward to the new release if it's not already out yet when you're watching this video. First things first, we're cutting out the lows. So there's the hi-hat mic, and you can see that I'm not cutting as much as, some people may go all the way up and choke this guy all the way up to like 5K just to get the sizzle. But I'm leaving some of the meat in there. Let's take a listen to the EQ before and after. Let's actually get rid of that one too. And alloy. With it. One more time without. That's a pretty big difference for simply using a filter. Listen to the clarity in the upper mids and the highs. So the highs become more focused now that we've got that low mess out of there. Moving on from there, the FabFilter Pro Q, sorry, not the Pro Q, the Pro C, opens up to the a default setting that actually works pretty cool. And then I like to blend a little bit of the dry in, and this is what it is. It's a soft knee, just a kind of a basic compression setting. Here's before. So we're just compressing it to bring up the overall level and to bring up some of the oomph to the cymbal, give us a little bit more, what would you say, just some good stuff, kind of the filling of the cymbal. And then from there, I've got Isotopes Alloy 2 yet again on with a preset. I don't know if I pulled this open to just experiment or if I actually dialed this one in. Yeah, it looks like it would have been a preset. And we've got the notch at the harsh frequency that is 3765 hertz, 3.765, and then this one's taking out the remainder. So I guess in the mix, I pulled up in this preset, and I did actually end up taking out quite a bit more. It happens. Moving on to the transient designer, I do want to show you this. Check this out before and after. So that transient, that attack, even just a subtle amount, is giving more stick on the metal to give it a little bit more definition in the mix. And then I'm pulling the sustain back. I feel like the the Hat and the Tony Maserati mix of Jason Mraz song, I feel like their Hat was a little more like this, definitive and stick head to metal. So I wanted to pull back some of that sustain and create that similar vibe, almost like a beat production kick. And honestly, maybe I said that at the beginning, but part of the goal with the drum sounds and why I'm getting kind of that hyper real focusing on each individual element is because I like the beat production type vibe that the drums had while still having kind of a natural quality as well in the Jason Mraz song that we referenced when we decided to produce this song and then, of course, mix it. So pulling out a lot of the sustain, a lot of the articulations that we're doing with boosting the transient designer, compression, those tools that we're using are all to kind of shape that drum sound that I had in my head for a tight, loose, articulate kit, if that makes any sense at all. Just kind of that, tight hip-hop, almost beat production vibe, but at the same time going for a little bit more of a raw, natural sound, laid back. Anyways, I'm blabbing about that. The last ditch here was the dynamic section, just pulling up the gain a little bit, and then even a little bit more. This would be something in the limiter. What I would do is after I've mixed the kit and I've mixed the song and I've got all the elements in, I'll go back in and I'll use a limiter on the back end of a lot of elements, and I'll just kind of use it for a hint more of compression to pull open the level. And that's all that was doing there. So pretty straightforward on the hi-hat, getting rid of the lows, maybe listening for a frequency that's bothering you, pulling that down, and making creative decisions like with the transient designer. I'm not using a transient designer in every single song. Sometimes I'll just take a verse where the drummer's hitting the hi-hat with a 16th pattern or something like that, got a groove going on the hi-hat, or 16ths, 30 seconds, doing whatever kind of fills on the hat. What I'll do is I'll automate a transient designer to go on or off for those particular hits so that it emphasizes the stick to the metal as opposed to just staying open and raw. Just kind of a wacky thought that I throw out there for mixing the hi-hats. Moving on to the overheads. They're going to the overheads bus, and you can see that here, OHs. And something cool that I do with these, once again, the slate. I don't need to worry about that. I think it's just, yet again, boring and set to the SSL. The Ocean Way is my new favorite plugin. I've mentioned this quite a bit on the blog. But what I do is I open this up and I'll pick a preset, but then I'll pull I'll pick a remic preset, and then I'll pull the distance all the way close. And then if I don't like that, maybe back it up if I want more room sound. But for the most part, I'm remiking, and I'm using the, call it the algorithm or whatever the heck they're doing for the emulation of using, in this case, a C12 microphone as opposed to whatever he used when he tracked the drums. Let's listen before and after the Ocean Way. That's a pretty significant difference. And let's go ahead and solo the overheads. Without it, and with it. So it's taking the quality of the drums just to another level for me by putting it in a space that just, the Ocean Way Studios, renowned studio, incredible place. Maybe one day I'll get to track there, but the Ocean Way plugin, UAD did an incredible job. And moving on, plug in NV here. If you don't have the Ocean Way, it's okay. There's not another plugin that does this, as far as I know. You can emulate with reverb, and you can get some good results. I've got a video on the channel I'll link to in the PDF included with the course, but it really is kind of they did something that no one else is doing yet. Maybe Slade or someone will come out with a similar thing. I know they've recently partnered with Blackbird and John McBride. But anyways, the Ocean Way, don't focus too much on it. Yes, it takes it to that next level. It takes it to another place. But whether you've got room mics in the mix or you're using a reverb that you like, there's no reason that stylistically or to taste you can't find something that works for you, and serves the song just the same. So anyways, moving on from that, I've got the UAD API, and I'm going to walk you through what I'm doing on here as well. The ultimate goal for this was the character of the pre and all that kind of stuff, but I'm using this for a little bit of compression. Let's hear that. Without it. With it. I said compression, forgive me, but I meant EQ. Just tapping up the highs a little bit, pulling back this, what was it, like 100 hertz or something, just to kind of tame the lows a little bit more and to make them more cymbal mics, just to focus on the top end, the brightness of them, and the character there. So you could do this with any EQ. And it looks like I've got the Pro Q2 doing a little bit more of a gentle reduction of the lows and the mids. Let's hear that before and after. Nothing gentle about that. It looks like I've got the image here a little bit different. I'm used to the old Pro Q where that same graphic would be 3 or 4 dB. But anyways, that's 10 dB of reduction in the mids. In the mix, I felt like there was a muddiness there, so I pulled that guy out, and then taming the snare a little bit around 1400 hertz, pulling out about 3-4 dB to kind of make these even more so cymbal mics rather than drum mics. Very simply, there's a video on the channel that describes the Ocean Way process, me using both an Ocean Way and I think I used Deverb, and I'm going to link to that great video for you to pause this, go check out, and see how I'm using the Deverb. I think it actually is this exact same song, but I'll link to that in the PDF. The Ocean Way here is just serving as a gentle room that I'm sending the overheads to, and actually I have them pulled down for this video, but in the final mix I did actually use them. And if I remember correctly, I did something like this where I will send a full signal from the overheads, you see here, into the Ocean Way A drums. That's this labeled there. And then the Ocean Way is set to drums, but instead of using the close mic C12, I use the room mic, and I've got that. It looks like about 15 feet back. And then a room mic, I typically will come in here and reduce the lows, the kick, something like that, control it a little bit. Sometimes I'll boost it. It just depends on the song. In this case, I just had it set to remove the mud, the subs. And let's hear the overheads going into, here's before going into the room mic. Actually, let's mute the room mic. Let's do it like this. Here's before and after. Okay. Now, because I keep talking about room sound and this song and how I wanted it to be a little bit tighter, let's listen in context what the drums as a whole sound like before the room mic and after, and why I chose not to use it. Here's the room mic. So for me, the room was pushing the drums back, and I wanted the kick and snare, especially in the hi-hat, almost like a little trap kit, to be close, focused, and central with the lead vocal. And that's there was just a creative taste decision that I made in the mix to actually end up not using the Ocean Way. As far as the overheads, I think I do use them a little bit for the room and the toms as we looked at. But pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy on the overheads. Hopefully you're learning something from that, or at least seeing how I'm thinking on making the metal in this song focused as being just metal mics, overheads, hat, and keeping them focused on the high end, and contributing to the overall drum sound rather than being drum mics and allowing the bleed to build a warm drum sound from that. Want it to be tight, want it to be focused. That's how we mix the hi-hat and the overheads on this one. Hope you like that. We're going to move on to what do we got next? We've got some percussion we can come back to. Let's focus on the bass. We're going to check out the bass, and then we're going to look at the bass and kick relationship and how they're interacting.